congratulations to Billy and Kathy on the birth of their latest. I hope all 5 of you and however many others you have live a long and happy life, preferably at your own expense. Although if you fall on hard times, you should have a state safety net to fall upon, but not a platform that you have to build for yourself in this life. And I wish you accommodation suitable for the size of your family. And that's it, really. As to the ridiculousness of people standing, grown men and women, standing in a London street with a microphone telling us about little hands holding on to white cloths and how the mother held the baby dearly, like, of course, every single mother in the entire world. As to those screaming at the pitch of their voices, squeaking really at the pitch of their voices on the television, "Congratulations, sir!" And as to those who waited in the street, in some cases for more than 2 weeks, for a glimpse of a child, well, this is not the baby Jesus, mister and ma'am. This is an ordinary child, born to a very ordinary family. The fact that they will live their lives in luxury, surrounded by courtiers, and be taught to regard themselves as superior beings is not their fault. It's our fault for putting up with it. And we have been putting up for it for a long time. And when I looked at the list now of the heirs to the throne, by the time you get to Simon Cowell, it's about number 18. So if we allow it, this innings will run and run and run, all at your expense, folks. So, hell mend you. If you're stupid enough to believe in this infantile disorder called monarchy, then there's no hope for you in my view. And some of the most surprising people, James Whale, for example, would have no criticism earlier of the expense of maintaining an ordinary family in extraordinary circumstances. But I bear them no malice or ill will at all. So Billy and Kathy, I hope you enjoy your new baby. Now, I talked to Peter Hitchens just moments ago about the situation in Syria, how the Duma incident is becoming increasingly impossible to sustain. I knew that by the speed with which they acted. I knew that they knew that it would come apart at the seams, and therefore they had to act immediately before the investigators even arrived at the scene, investigators that they themselves had dispatched there. I knew that the wheels would come off this particular wagon when I saw the way that they moved into action against even the likes of Peter Hitchens, traducing and defaming him, slandering him on all media, because he took a contrary view, and his contrary view wasn't the same as my contrary view. My contrary view is that there was no chemical attack in Duma, not carried out by anybody. And I told you that on the very first day that I could, when I got to this microphone after the event. Hitchens has no such view. All he's asking is all that Corbyn asked in Parliament on Duma and on Salisbury. Hang on a minute. Can you provide any evidence of that which you are asserting? Because the assertions of the likes of Donald Trump, President Macron and Prime Minister May ain't what they used to be. Once upon a time, you might have taken an assertion from a political leader of their stripe with rather more seriousness than you can today. Post-Iraq, post-Libya, post-Syria, post-Salisbury, post-Duma, post-Windrush, Windrush, anyone? Did you see tumbleweed blowing across the Windrush affair? I did. It, too, will disappear. I knew there was something up with the state narrative when they quickly dropped it from the agenda. But I want to talk about another agenda item that's missing. Last night, the worst government in the world, you'll notice I just called it a government and not a regime, because that's what's been inculcated into me and you. The worst government in the world, in Saudi Arabia, just murdered at least 22 people at a wedding in Yemen, including the bride, or bride-to-be, for she and her husband had not even by that stage been enjoined. The Saudi Air Force, which dropped the bomb, was flying an American plane, firing an American or British rocket, dropping American and British bombs, and in a command and control center, which ordered and directed the attack, are sitting today and every day officers from the United States and Great Britain. So we are asked to believe that we had a moral obligation to attack Syria without evidence, whilst in the very same time frame we are up to our necks in the blood of the people of Yemen, and yet we're asked to believe that our governments are somehow some kind of moral arbiters. We'll be talking to Professor Natasha Ezro from the University of Essex on that later. We'll be talking to Dan Hodges, Dan the Corbyn man, because according to his column yesterday, Corbyn's not much longer for the political world. According to Dan the Corbyn man, even the Corbynistas, in Parliament at least, are beginning to turn against him, establish a cordon sanitaire between themselves and him. And we'll be talking to Patrick Christys, journalist at Westminster, on the petition to abolish the House of Lords, because the House of Lords, the unelected flatmates, cash kings, party donors, plus 80 of the putrefying corpses of the British aristocracy, have just decided to overrule 17.4 million people who opined in the great referendum that Britain should leave the European Union. But they forgot the men in ermine. And lastly, we'll be talking about Italy. Do you remember just a few weeks ago the expert that I had on the mother of all talk shows? He was a professor from King's College in London, no less. The Italian elections were going to be business as usual, he said. He laughed, oh, how he laughed, when I said there was going to be a big change and that the 5-star movement were going to win the elections. Oh, how the expert laughed. The President of the Italian Republic has just called upon the leader of the 5-star movement and requested that he form the next government of Italy.